Hello, my name is Andrew, and this presentation is based on an interview I did with an older Army veteran. The goal was to understand how his life experiences shape who he is today using a life course perspective. His story includes military service, trauma, substance use, recovery, relationships, and aging. When you look at all of that together, you start to see how everything connects. What stood out to me is that his life was not simple. He has been through a lot, but he has also made changes that shaped where he is now. The interviewee is a 70-year-old Army veteran who served for 30 years, including time in Special Forces. I know him through AA, which helped a lot because there was already the trust there. He has dealt with long-term alcohol use, multiple marriages, and physical pain from his time in the military and aging. At the same time, he has been sober for 39 years and stays involved in recovery. That mix of struggle and stability is a big part of his life currently. The interview took place at the AA club in a relaxed setting. It did not feel like a formal interview. It felt like a normal conversation. Because we already knew each other, he was open about his experiences and did not hold anything back. We talked about things like his time in the military, his drinking career, and his relationships. Being in that kind of environment made it easier for him to be honest, which is important when you are trying to understand someone's story. He grew up in a strict household where his father was physically abusive and his mother was more passive. He started drinking at a very young age, and it became a big part of his life early on. He joined the Army, eventually served in the Special Forces in Vietnam, where he went through situations most people will never experience. After that, he spent the rest of his career working for 2 and 4-star generals. A major turning point came when his commander, who he later found out was also in the AA program, told him to stop drinking or he would be kicked out of the military. He stopped, he stayed in, and ended up completing 30 years of service. He has been married multiple times and is currently going through a divorce. He talked about having PTSD from his military experience. He described operating alone and being in constant danger, and that stayed with him. Those experiences affected how he handled stress and how he reacts to situations. He said things that used to feel like a big deal do not anymore, which shows how his mindset has changed over time. PTSD can have long-term effects on behavior and emotional responses, especially in veterans who experience combat. The life course perspective helps explain how his early experiences carried into later parts of his life. Growing up in a difficult home and starting alcohol use early did not just go away. It followed him into adulthood. The person and environment perspective shows how his military career, relationships, and recovery community all influenced his behavior. The strengths perspective stands out because despite everything, he was able to stop drinking and stay sober long term. That says a lot about his ability to change. There are several resources that play a role in his life. AA is a big one because it gives him support and keeps him accountable. He's also connected to VA services, which can help him both physical and mental health. Medical providers help manage his chronic pain, and mental health services can help with PTSD. All of these work together to support him in different areas instead of just focusing on one issue. A few things stood out as major themes. One is resilience. He went through a lot, but kept moving forward. Discipline is another, which likely comes from his time in the military. He also talked about acceptance, especially when it comes to things he cannot change. He believes strongly focusing on living in the present instead of staying stuck in the past. That shift in mindset shows growth over time in how he handles life now. He had several risk factors, including starting to drink at a very young age, growing up in a rough household, and going through trauma in the military. Those things could have easily led to worse outcomes. At the same time, there are strong protective factors. The structure of the military gave him direction, and his decision to stop drinking changed everything. His involvement in the AA and having a small group of people he trusts also keeps him stable, as well as a close connection with his family. Culture, race, religion, and gender all played a role in his life. Military culture had a big influence, especially the mindset of being tough and not showing weakness. As a male in that environment, there was pressure to handle everything on his own. His background also shaped how he dealt with relationships and stress. Over time, spirituality became more important, especially through recovery, that helped guide how he sees things now and how he handles challenges. A social worker can bring in a Christian worldview by recognizing that he has value no matter what he has been through. Ideas like grace and forgiveness matter, especially with his story. At the same time, it is about accountability and continuing to grow. Supporting him means meeting him where he is while still encouraging him to keep moving forward. Faith-based ideas can give him a sense of purpose and direction, especially in recovery. He sees himself strongly as a veteran, and that has shaped a lot of his life. His identity in recovery is also a big part of who he is. His marriages and current divorce show how his experiences have affected his relationship. As people get older, they tend to have smaller circles and focus on people they trust, which matches exactly with what he said. His identity is tied to everything he has been through and the environments he has been part of. During the interview, I focus on listening and not interrupting him. Since I also have a military background and experience with recovery, I had to be careful not to assume his story was the same as mine. I used empathy to understand where he was coming from and stayed focused on what he was saying. Being self-aware is important because it helps avoid bias and keeps the focus on the person you are working with. It also helps build trust. This interview showed how life experiences shape a person over time. His story includes trauma, alcohol use, recovery, and aging, and all of those are connected. Even with everything he went through, he was able to change and build a different mindset. He focuses on acceptance and living in the present. This shows that people can grow and change even after years of struggle. It also shows why it is important to understand the full picture when working with someone. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for allowing me to present today.